heaven and held the sun in heaven. 2. 120. How great the divine love is and what is its nature can be confirmed from a comparison with the sun of the world in its greatest ardor. It is, if you will believe it, much more ardent than that sun. For this reason, the Lord as a sun does not flow immediately into the heavens, but the ardor of his love is tempered by degrees on the way. These temperings appear as radiating belts around the sun, and in addition, the angels are veiled with a suitably thin cloud to prevent their being harmed by the influx. Number sign. So, the heavens are separated in accordance with the reception of influx from the Lord. As the higher heavens are in the good of love, they are nearest to the Lord as a sun, whereas the lower heavens being in the good of faith are further away from that sun. Those, however, who are in no good, like those in hell, are furthest away, the extent of their remoteness being according to their opposition to good. What the Lord's divine love is, and how great it is, illustrated by comparison with the fire of this world's sun. The Lord's divine love is love toward the whole human race to save it. The love going forth from the fire of the Lord's love does not enter heaven, but is seen as radiant belts about the sun. The angels are veiled with a suitably thin cloud, to prevent their being harmed by an influx of burning love. The Lord's presence with the angels is in proportion to their reception of the good of love and faith from him. The Lord appears to each one in accordance with what he is. The hells are at a distance from the heavens because they cannot bear the presence of divine love from the Lord. For this reason the hells are remote from the heavens, and this is the great gulf. 121. When, however, the Lord appears in heaven, which often happens, he does not appear encompassed with a sun, but in angelic form, yet distinguished from angels by the divine shining from his face. For he is not there in person, since the Lord in person is always encompassed with the sun, but he is present by view. For it is a common occurrence in heaven for persons to appear to be present in a place where the view is fixed or terminated, even when the place is very far from where they really are. This presence is called the presence of internal sight, which will be treated of in what follows. I have also seen the Lord on high, outside the sun in an angelic form a little below the sun, also nearby in a similar form with shining face, also once in the midst of angels as a flame-like brightness. 122. The sun of the world appears to the angels as a dense darkness from being opposite to the sun of heaven, and the moon as a darkness from being opposite to the moon of heaven, and this constantly. The reason is that the world's fieriness corresponds to the love of self, and the illumination from it corresponds to what is false from that love. The love of self is the direct opposite of the divine love. What is false from that love is the direct opposite of the divine truth, and the opposite of the divine love and the divine truth is, to the angels, dense darkness. Therefore, in the word, to worship the sun and moon of this world and bow down to them, signifies to love self and the falsities that are from the love of self, and such will be cut off. Deuteronomy 4, 1917, 325, Job 8, 1, 2, Visa. 8, 15, 16, 18, Red 16, 8, Matt. 13, 6. The Son of the world is not visible to the angels, but, in its place, something dark at the back, opposite to the Son of heaven, which is the Lord. The Son in the opposite sense signifies the love of self, in which sense, by adoring the Son, is signified to worship those things that are contrary to heavenly love, or to the Lord. To those who are in the hells, the Son of heaven is thick darkness. 123. Since the Lord appears in heaven like the sun by reason of the divine love which is in him and from him, so all in the heavens turn constantly towards him, those in the celestial kingdom to him as a sun, those in the spiritual kingdom to him as a moon. But those in hell turn towards the dense blackness and darkness which are in the opposite direction, that is, they turn backwards, away from the Lord, the reason being that all in the hells are in the love of self and of the world, thus opposed to the Lord. Those who turn to the dense darkness, that is, in the place where this world's sun is, are in the hells behind, and are called genii, while those who turn to the darkness, that is, in the place of the moon, are in hells in front and are called spirits. This is why those in the hells are said to be in darkness, and those in the heavens in light. Darkness signifies falsity from evil, and light truth from good. They turn in that way because all in the other life look towards the things that rule in their interiors, thus to their loves, and it is the interiors that make the face of an angel or spirit. In the spiritual world, also, there are no fixed quarters, as in the natural world, but it is the face that determines them. Man also, in respect of his spirit, turns in the same way as a spirit does, backwards from the Lord, if he is in the love of self and of the world, and towards the Lord if he is in love to him and the neighbor. But man does not know this, because he is in the natural world where the quarters are fixed according to the rising and setting of the sun. But, as this cannot be easily comprehended by man, it will be elucidated in subsequent sections which will treat of quarters, space, and time in heaven. 124. Because the Lord is the Son of heaven and all things from him look to him, the Lord is also the common center, the source of all direction and determination. So, too, all things beneath are in his presence and under his auspices, both in the heavens and on earth. The Lord is the common center to which all things of heaven turn themselves. 125. From these considerations, what has been said and shown in previous sections about the Lord may now be seen in clearer light, namely, next, I will post an article that says Light and Heat in Heaven. 1. Thank you.